So far, we've added some content and styled a couple of elements, but we've made a lot of noise about this responsive design business. But in reality, we haven't really done anything in that regard. So um, let's actually start talking about it. If you look at my yummy recipe project, you see that we said mobile first, and that's where we're at here. This is mobile first. We say that this will look pretty good. It looks fine the way it is on mobile, although we're going to have to do something about this video spanning the entire width, but bear with me, we'll get there. Everything else is very fluid, and it looks just fine on mobile, for mobile. But but let's look at the finished product. You see that at a certain length, we have something changes. Look at that. This guy goes. They become parallel over here at a certain dimension. Now, let me explain this a little bit further. Inspect element in Chrome. Now, keep your eye up at the top right-hand corner over here. You see that as we go, you see how it's telling us the dimensions that we're at over here. Look at this. We see that everything is normal, and these guys are sitting here this way up until, look, it's creeping, then, bam, it goes underneath. And actually, if we just first think about it, this is what we currently sort of have. Not totally styled, I know. But this is sort of what we're working with over here with our current design. But then when we kind of expand it a little bit, right here, it changes. It's 600. At 600 pixels, I created what's known as a breakpoint, and that is the essence of responsive design. And let's go responsive breakpoints, and you'll see what I'm talking about. If you Google responsive breakpoints, actually now and forever over here, you could see sort of the idea of what these things are. At least we could find the content. Now, let's find the actual code that does this, or we'll just start writing it. Now, a breakpoint means that once the screen is at a specific width, do something, right? And what's that something going to be? Well, the sky's the limit, and that's why it's fun. But let me show you exactly what we're talking about over here. So I picked 600 pixels as my breakpoint. Well, first, when you actually Google breakpoints and you sort of see some other options, you see people could do multiple breakpoints, different max width, min width, 100 of them, and yeah, that's great. It gives you more fine-tuned control over the design. Our design is pretty fluid and simple by nature, so I'm just going to really what I'm thinking about is at a narrow viewport, it's got to look a certain way, and at a wide viewport, it's got to look a certain way. And I'm just going to define that to be at 600 pixels, because that'll sort of keep our content from getting too wide and too hard to read like you see over here. So, well, let's get right into what we're talking about over here. We have to define a breakpoint with CSS. You go at media, so media query, at what we're looking at. It's sort of now targeting our device, and we say what? I'm going to go min width 600 pixels as opposed to max width something, which is also an option. And then braces, and everything inside of here is going to happen as soon as the browser is wider than 600 pixels. Why did I do this? This is the idea of mobile first development, mobile first design, of progressive enhancement as opposed to graceful degradation, which I think, I don't think, I would argue has won the war. That's another progressive enhancement, which basically means we start off small and add features as we want, as opposed to versus what I say, degradation. Graceful degradation, meaning we actually take stuff away. This has been the approach that has sort of won the war. It's worth looking into these sort of concepts. But by doing, but all that song and dance basically means that this is how we actually start working on it, from min width instead of max width, and taking stuff away. So we want something to happen at the minimum width. Let's just get extreme with it for a second. Why don't we say that we want so within these braces is where we add more CSS code. Now we say headline, and here's a tag called display none. I use this often to check that my code is right or how stuff does. Display none essentially makes whatever you're targeting invisible. So let's go to the Yummy project, and yeah, this is our current one. You see that, is this? No, this is our current one. Okay, let's see, I refresh it, and all of a sudden, where did our headline go? Well, we're saying that, okay, all right, see, now it's visible again. So let me go inspect. We'll see, keep your eye over here. What we're talking about here is that we're saying that once this gets a minimum width of 600 pixels, it's just going to vanish on us. Let's see. Ooh, poof. You see it's even at right at 600, it's still gone. So anytime it goes to minimum width 600, it's gone. As soon as we go an inch lower or a pixel lower, it's back. Obviously, this is not what we're what we're going towards, but it gives us a good starting point to essentially do this other business, which is make these things align differently at certain widths.